Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, leave a like and subscribe if you enjoy this content. Now we're going to be taking a look at the Black Series Kenner carded TIE Fighter pilot today. We're going to be doing a quick review and without further ado, let's jump into it. So what's going to come with this figure? You are going to get the standard Stormtrooper blaster, which I mean, if we're being honest, is probably more than we thought we would get with this figure when it was first released. And although it's not that exciting to some, it's better than nothing. And it's good that he's got the standard blaster. Obviously, a little bit of silver on there, but it's just the black standard Stormtrooper blaster. So not too much to talk about there. However, he does have a holster, which is awesome. This is the kind of like rubbery blaster, but it's built straight. You know, it's built straight for this this blaster. It's not just a kind of thrown together one. It is perfectly for this one, and this is the same type of holster that comes with the old school Disney Parks exclusive Stormtrooper with the blast effects. He has a holster as well, as you've probably seen in my videos. Recently he's been featured, but this holster is kind of like rubbery rather than like a hard plastic mould, which is good. I think that it's good because obviously it means that you can kind of pinch it to shape, and as well it's a little bit more kind of blaster hugging rather than just being this big blocky thing hanging off of his waist. So this looks a little bit more, you know, kind of almost looks leathery, kind of on camera, the kind of pouchiness. It's kind of rubber. It's not the kind of plastic that you're getting with the rest of the figure. It is like a rubber material, so that's cool. You know, moving on to articulation straight away. Now he kind of has the same kind of ups and downs as, you know, the Scout Trooper, in the fact that he's built to be a TIE Fighter pilot. You know, he's built to actually be able to sit in the cockpit of a TIE Fighter pilot, so his articulation is very particular, and because he's this all black body, you know, that means that a lot of things can be hidden, and because he's quite short, again, some of the things can be hidden. But in terms of his legs, I mean, if we start at the boots, he's quite short and he's got quite small feet, and he really struggles to point. Although the articulation is there in terms of there's the ability to push it up like a toe point to the sky, it's really actually difficult to do it. Again, with the toe point, he's got a little bit of capability on toe point, but like you really struggle to move him. So in terms of getting him flat-footed and getting him to stand up, it is a little bit difficult sometimes. Obviously when you're using wires, or if he's in some sort of particular pose that he can lean on something or sit on something, like in, you know, in a TIE Fighter cockpit, then you're okay there. In terms of his legs, he has double joints, as you can see, which is fantastic, and it's fantastic for two reasons. It's great to have that range of articulation, and it means that he can get to a completely sitting pose, which as a TIE Fighter pilot he's going to need, because he's going to have to sit in the cockpit, of course. So as you can see, if I move the arm up, you know, he can sit down, which is really good. In tandem with that, if we take a look at his arms, he's got a really good wrist bend, which comes inwards, if I can get this in focus for you, which means that he can come together in the middle and hold, you know, a joystick or a steering wheel, which again is fantastic. And because of the way the arms are articulated, it means that he can come together and squeeze into the middle, and have his hands touching, which is kind of important for his line of work, because he needs to be able to reach the sticks. So that's really good. So in terms of the knees, very good. In terms of, you know, the hips, he can almost get to a split. It's pretty good. It can come up pretty much to 90. It can go back pretty much to 90, because he's got this kind of wide open hip. It means that the leg here isn't kind of like hindered by this coming down too far. It means that he can kind of, you know, open the gate, close the gate for anybody that plays sports. And if you look at kind of the arms, he'll come to just below 90 when it comes to that kind of shoulder piece here, and then obviously you can bend him to have his arms up, or you can rotate so that his arms come up in that way. Obviously his Imperial logo is on this side, so this would technically be the way up he would be moving it really, but you know, if you need to have his arms up for a shot, that's fine, and you're not really going to notice that. So in terms of his shoulders, you know, he'll barely get to a T pose, but he'll just about get there. In terms of the actual belt, the belt actually moves. I don't know if I can get it into focus. I don't know if you can see, but the holster is like rubbery, and so is the belt, and it kind of moves, and it means that you can move it up and down and kind of get the blaster out of the way, which is really good, as well as just having the belt positioned correctly depending on his position. That means that obviously when he sits down it can come up, and when he stands up it can come down a little bit, as we can see here. Now onto the torso. He doesn't have really a side to side, doesn't really have an ab crunch at all. Get this in focus for you again. Come on, here we go. Oh, that helmet looks so cool. Doesn't really have an ab crunch. He will twist at the waist, and then this this chest attachment here, where the rebreather kind of attaches, that's moulded as a part of the piece, and then the hoses also are stuck in here permanently. So obviously that's going to limit articulation a little bit with the head, because he can't go you know, too far away from the hoses. In terms of side to side, you get a tiny bit. In terms of back looking up, you get a little bit. Down you get a little bit too. Obviously because he's quite small, you aren't going to get much use out of the looking down unless he's like in a cockpit looking down, obviously, which is useful in that regard. But because of the TIE Fighter you know, character, you don't really need much articulation in the head, because for the most part his job is going to be looking straight on from, you know, looking out from a cockpit, or looking straight at, you know, Vader or a captain receiving orders. You know, although he comes with a blaster, he's not going to be, you know, in these dynamic fights really. He's hindered by this stuff kind of, you know, in the real world and the action figure articulation world. So that's not too bad. Moving kind of to the back, again, he doesn't have much of a bend there, but looking good. Now in terms of the look, I think they've captured the look, you know, the iconic helmet, rebreather, and the rest of his kind of flight suit. I think they've captured it brilliantly. You know, he has quite a short torso to legs kind of ratio, and he's, you know, he's got a huge thigh gap, but you know, that's not egregious, that doesn't bother me, and that's the sort of thing. It's like the Scout Trooper, he needs to be able to get his legs bent and into a cockpit and that sort of thing. But yeah, in terms of the paint application, they have nailed this. Like the rebreather there, you can see, looks fantastic. All the tiny details, the panels there. The helmet also, although most of it is sculpt, you know, it's the mould just in black plastic. The Imperial logos look great, and oh god, that helmet is so cool. I'd love to have one in the collection. You know, I've got a 1-to-1 scale Black Series Vader helmet and a Stormtrooper helmet. I would love that TIE Fighter helmet. I think that'd be so cool. With the rest of the figure, again, most of it in black, so it's just black mould work that they've printed in black plastic. So, you know, not much to rave about, but they've done well. It's not like they've dropped the ball on something that's easy to do. It's easy to do, and they've come through, so can't complain there. In terms of his versatility, now he's not the most versatile character. He's not going to be in any scenes really where there's not you know, a TIE fighter involved, or at least anything to do with needing a pilot nearby. Obviously in Rebels we saw kind of like with Sabine in the Academy, we've seen that they are around and they do train and that sort of thing, so they're not always in in a TIE fighter. There are other places as well, so you can kind of use it from that standpoint. But again, obviously it being in the original 4, 5 and 6 films, it means that there's a lot of possibilities there, a lot of characters you can cross it over with, and to be honest, you can be inventive and kind of really use him wherever you want. But obviously in terms of versatility, he's not the most versatile character, because you kind of need a TIE fighter to go along with your TIE fighter pilot. Overall, I think it's an awesome figure. Like I do love it. I did hold off a long time, but it just became available to me, and I sort of thought, yeah, I'll throw it on the order, that's fine. I want to pick one up at some point, so why not now? And I'm glad I did. And to be honest, I'll only get one, in my opinion, unless a lot of figures fall into my hands at a great price. Because to be honest, I don't think you need more than one TIE fighter pilot. In terms of the overall score, probably give this figure a 6. I love the look. Articulation is so-so. It's got its ups and downs. It's very great in terms of if you're trying to get him into a dynamic fighter pilot pose and in a cockpit. But in terms of like as you can see now, getting him to stand up, you really have to fight his boots, and it's a little bit frustrating, and it's kind of a downfall there. And obviously because of the versatility, like I say, he's a really cool character, but in terms of what shots you can put him in, he's not really going to fit in a lot of shots unless he's kind of a background character for the most part. Now I'm going to get him to kind of stand at this weird angle for the purpose of actually just having him having him stand up. But I hope you enjoyed this video, guys.